Welcome to the Frog Connected Classroom Discover Career series. Do continue the discussion of discovering careers by creating and sharing your own photos, videos, stories, and even your own interviews on your social media channels using hashtag FrogCC and hashtag FrogPilot for today's session. To our live viewers, you may submit to us your questions using the Q&A app, and we shall try to answer your questions too. Well, today we have with us a pilot, Mr. Eugene Lim.
Hello, hi, morning.
All right, Mr. Eugene, would you like to introduce yourself, your position, and also the number of years you have been in your field?
Okay, great. My name is Eugene, and I've been with AirAsia for coming on to 4 years now. Right now, I'm a first officer with AirAsia, as well as a CRM, crew resource management teacher. So I do classes as well as fly.
All right. Can you tell us more about what does a pilot's typical day looks like from morning until when you go off work?
Okay. Well, basically we sign in to work. We're required to be at the office approximately 1 hour to 1 hour and 15 minutes before the flight. And what we do there is we go in and we prepare our flight documents. So we collect everything, the charts, the flight plan from the departments. And we'll go through them to check for weather, to check on the relevant, what we call notice to airmen, which is, for example, runway closures or instrument approaches that are not available to us for that day. And based on that, we'll decide what kind of fuel we require and also how much we need to uplift. And basically anything that goes on during the day. So right from the start, we're already prepared and we know what's going to happen for the rest of the day. And right after that, what we'll do is we'll meet the crew. So we'll go and see the cabin crew. I'll meet my captain first. We'll brief each other on the weather, and normally we'll have a quick chat just to break the ice.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then we'll go see the cabin crew and we'll brief them on what's expected of them for the day, what kind of weather we expect, what kind of whether we were refueling in Kuala Lumpur only or we're going to refuel at our destinations as well.
So the steward and the stewardess?
Yeah.
All right, pramugari.
So after that, we'll proceed to the aircraft and we'll start setting up. There's quite a bit of work to do setting up the aircraft. We've got to punch in the flight computer. We've got to load up all our calculations. Basically what happens is when we get to our plane, we get this guy who comes out. He's called the ramp staff.
Okay.
He will tell us how many passengers we have, where they're seated, how much cargo, and which cargo hold they put it in. And based on that, I will have to calculate the takeoff speeds, as well as the flap settings. So based on different weights and different runways, every day is a different variable.
I see. So then you have to calculate that. But do you have to put that into the documents that you were preparing before this?
The documents that we had before that give us some of the information that we need to calculate the final load figures.
I see, all right. So then you move on to the flight.
And then we move on, we take off,
all right.
Start flying, and when we arrive at our destination, we basically go back to the setup and set up for the return flight.
I see. Can you tell us more about your hours, your working hours?
Okay. My working hours are long. When I do work, I'm out of the house, let's say for example for early morning starts, I'm out of the house by 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's very early.
That's very early. So that's one of the difficulties in this job. And if I'm out at 3 o'clock in the morning, I only get home say at about 5 in the evening sometimes. So it's a longer than usual work day.
So is that when you need to fly a plane, or is it like when you don't fly a plane, do you still have to go?
When I don't fly a plane, the only time I need to go to work will be when I have classes to teach.
Oh, okay.
And that will be just a 9 to 6.
I see. All right. So typical work day will be like 9 sampai pukul 6, 9 to 6.
Well, no, that's not the typical work day. That is the maybe 2 times a month.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So can you tell more about why you enjoy your work so much? Why you're so passionate?
Well, of course, the first thing about the job that I really love is that you are in the air. You get to fly. And for most people in my profession, we really love what we do because we love the freedom of flying. We love the feeling that you get. And also, of course, the views from my office unbelievable.
Cool. Not many people get the chance to do that, I guess.
No, it's something that even money can't buy.
Yeah, true. All right. It sounds beautiful, but I'm sure there are also a lot of challenges. Can you name like this top 3?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the top 3 challenges, like I said, the hours are one. The odd hours, you will wake up at 3 o'clock, or sometimes for the afternoon starts, you come home only around 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. So there are a lot of variables in your timing. You can't say like, okay, I will go to sleep at Dido at this time every day, but it's a different thing based on your monthly schedule. So that is one of the challenges. And also we've got weather and malfunction during flight. So when things like that happen, that's when you really have your stress levels will go up, and that is one of the main challenges we have.
That is while you're flying?
While we're flying.
Okay.
While we're flying, for example, we come into Kuala Lumpur towards the end of the day, and the weather is really bad. So we get bumpy flights, we get strong winds and thunderstorms. So especially, KL region, we're raining pretty much throughout the year most of the time. And especially towards the end of the year, the monsoon seasons, it gets quite bad during those times.
Oh my gosh.
But of course, we are well trained, and these kind of things. Our planes are large enough that they can go through this kind of weather without too much of a problem. It's just stressful for us because we want to make sure that the passengers are safe and comfortable as well.
Yeah, true. All right. So yeah.
And one more challenge that we have is, as all you kids will know, it's stressful going for exams, right? So what we have every 6 months is what we call a simulator check, where first, to qualify to continue flying for the rest of the next 6 months, I have to sit for an exam, and I have to go for 2 simulator sessions where we will get a lot of failures during the session. So the simulator is 99% accurate. It feels exactly like the real plane. It moves, and you actually get the full sense that you're in a real aircraft.
I see.
And what we actually call these sessions, or we call the simulators, we call them torture boxes. So every 6 months we go into the torture box.
I see. So it's not like once you're a pilot, then you don't have to take any more exams.
No, I wish.
Have to take exams? Okay.
Every 6 months.
All right. So like you mentioned just now, one of the challenges is like it tests your skills when you have like malfunction throughout. Along while you're flying. So, is there any particular skill sets that you need to handle a job?
Well, okay. Well, for skill sets, of course, the first prerogative or the first priority for us is that you have to have good, what we call stick skills, which is the ability to actually fly the aircraft.
Okay.
Coming for landing, we try to put the aircraft down safely. That's the priority. But of course, the bonus is when the landing is so nice that we call it greases, where you don't even feel that you landed.
Okay.
Yeah. And everyone goes, it's a bonus, it's an add-on for us when we can actually get that down. So that's one of the skill sets that we need. We also need to have good communication skills, because we deal with different people from different cultures every day. Today my captain's from America, tomorrow you could be from Korea. So we have to adapt and communicate with these different things. And another thing is the accents that we deal with. When we fly into Thailand or we fly over Thailand, we talk to the Thai air controls.
Oh, okay.
And they have a Thai accent. We fly to China, and there's a very strong Chinese accent. Same as any other country that we go to, we have to be able to adapt to their local accent so that we can communicate with them very well.
I see. Do you get trained for that, to understand other people's language? So, like, okay, that is one thing. So what other training do you have to go through? Like, well, to be a pilot?
Okay, well, we have to go through quite what we call an intensive training, in the sense where you have to get your flying license. So you first get your student pilot license, and then you get your private pilot license before you get your commercial pilot license.
I see.
And lastly is the airline transport pilot license.
Okay.
So these things, we go through them in stages. The whole course, entire course till the end, will take about 2 years, give or take. And the ground subjects that we study are actually really intensive. Just imagine you're studying engineering, a 3-year course, crammed into 3 months. That's what it felt like.
Very stressful. Seems like very stressful. Just studying.
Yeah, just studying. Yeah.
Okay. Then can you tell us more about like what are the particular specific things that you learn when you're training? And like just now you mentioned that you have to understand those different accent of different countries. So do you train on that as well?
Well, we don't specifically train to deal with things like this, but what we have is we have a standard of English which we call aviation English. That every pilot, every controller needs to go through and pass to be able to work in the industry. So we've got different levels of that. Minimum is a level 4, which you have to renew every 1 year.
Level 4.
Level 4.
How many levels are there altogether?
There are 6 levels.
Okay, all right.
Before level 4, you basically don't pass.
Okay.
Yeah. And level 5 is renewable every 3 years. And level 6, you'll never have to renew it. So it's good for life.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Then can you tell us about ways of joining this industry, like as a pilot? Is there, for students out there who wants to join this industry, like how do they go? Okay.
There are usually 2 pathways to join an airline. The first being that you take your license on the outside. That means you take it privately, like you're going to college.
Oh, okay.
And it's the entire 2-year course that I was talking about. And we've got flying schools in Malaysia itself. We've got my flying school, the one that I went to was in Langkawi.
Okay.
All right, so we've got Langkawi, Malacca, and actually I can only think of those 2 at the moment. There used to be more, but some of them have shut down and merged. Oh yes, and Kota Baru.
Oh, okay.
So there are 3 big ones left.
Langkawi, Malacca, and Kota Baru.
Yes.
All right, remember that.
So that's one way to get in. And the second way is that a lot of airlines, including my airline, AirAsia, we've got cadet programs where right out of Form 5, you can come and join us.
Oh, okay,
and basically what will happen is that you will be sent for training by the company.
All right.
The cost of it will be paid by you, but over a period of maybe 10-15 years. You just have to pay back a few thousand or so every month.
So something like PTP.
Something like that, yes.
Okay.
Except the good thing about this is that you are guaranteed a job at the end.
Oh, okay.
So the company will hire you from the beginning.
That's very good.
Yeah.
So a pilot cadet program.
Yes.
Okay.
Pilot cadet program.
That's right after Form 5.
That's right after Form 5. So, and there are some basic requirements. The requirements will be an A in English and Math for your SPM.
All right.
B in Physics. Or if you don't take Physics, you need an A in General Science.
Okay, all right.
And B's in 2 other subjects. So 5 subjects you need to have.
But the most important one is you need to get A in English and Mathematics.
Yes.
English and Mathematics mesti A untuk jadi pilot. Okay, sila ingat. Alright. So we have a good question here. I think this one. Do you need any medical checkup before becoming a pilot? And is it like, do you need to do it frequently?
Yes. Medical checks are every year. We call this Class 1 medicals.
Okay.
Where you go for blood test, urine test, as well as every 3 years we need to go for ECGs to check our heart. And but basically to renew your license every year, you need to have this medical. So every year, what I'll do is I'll go to the doctor, get my medical certificate, and then go to the Department of Civil Aviation to renew my license. So yes, there is medical, and it is every year.
I see. So okay, when you say medical checkup like that, so what can you still fly a plane when you're really old, let's say 50, 60? And what about injuries?
Okay.
You have injuries along the way.
Well, when you're depending on the airline you're flying with, every airline has slightly different policies. For AirAsia, you can fly up to the age of 65.
65 tahun can still fly a plane?
65 tahun you can still fly a plane, as long as you're healthy.
Okay.
As long as you can still pass your medical and dia boleh kira as healthy, and then you can come in for the flight up to the age of 65. And after that, your airline can rehire you as a simulator instructor.
Oh, okay.
So the guys who torture us at the end of every 6 months are
so you can be that?
Yes, you can if you still want to work after that.
I see. All right. So can you tell us more about like what is the lowest rank you start off with and how far up in the industry can you go?
Okay, do you want to talk about injuries first?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so if you've got any injuries, let's say you broke your leg, for example.
Yeah.
So for those 2-3 months that you're recovering, masa recovery tu tak boleh kerja lah. You may be able to, if you've got some skills to fall back on, you can go and conduct classes like what I do.
I see, right.
Or you can do simulator support sessions, but you can't actually fly the plane from point A to point B because it wouldn't look good anyway for a pilot to come to work on crutches, right?
Yeah, true. So if the injury is permanent means...
If it's permanent, then you've got to find different areas to work in. You can take your skills and go into management, for example.
Yeah, okay.
You can join the company as a office worker instead.
So can you still be the simulator instructor?
Yes, you can still be a simulator instructor.
All right.
Of course, again, the injury is within limits. You need both your hands, you need your legs, but maybe if you don't have full mobility, you're still okay.
I see. All right. Okay, so then going back to the question, like where do you start off and how far up can you go?
Okay. Well, we'll start off as, let's say, for example, we take the route of a cadet pilot. So, masa join, you are a cadet pilot. Lepas tu, lepas training, you kena masuk lagi training dalam company tu for AirAsia. So, when you join the company as a pilot for AirAsia, you start off as what we call second officers.
Okay. So,
second officers have one bar, one stripe, and they will be doing their training. We've got simulators for 2 to 3 months continuously, and then you've got to go for flights. During the flight, you fly with what we call a instructor pilot.
Okay.
And he will be teaching you as well as testing you during the flight. You've got to come fully prepared. It's not a spoon feeding session where this is a session where you're supposed to come knowing what's going on. And right after that, you become a first officer. After being a first officer for a number of years, because we need to, basically our experience is calculated in the number of hours you've spent flying. So to become a captain for AirAsia, you need to have 4,000 hours of flying.
Wow.
4,000 hours translates to about 166 days or 5 bulan in the air.
Wow.
So 5 months of your life spent flying.
I see. So then can you tell us more about like co-pilot? So what's the rank of a co-pilot like?
A co-pilot is basically a first officer. So when you're a first officer, you're a co-pilot as well. Your job is to support the captain and you're second in command of the aircraft. So if anything happens to the captain, then you have to take charge, which is why we were talking earlier about skills. Leadership skills are also very important. You have to be able to take charge, you have to lead your cabin crew. And most companies will tell you that right from the beginning, we do not hire co-pilots.
Oh, okay.
What we hire are future commanders, future captains of the airline. So leadership skills, yes, that's also very important.
I see. All right. Very good. Thank you very much. So we will open up the session for Q&A very soon. So akan buka kepada sesi soal jawab nanti. So sila perkenalkan sekolah anda dalam group chat sekiranya anda ada soalan supaya kita boleh panggil sekolah anda untuk menanyakan soalan sendiri. We have one question from Twitter actually. So how many lessons or flight hours do I have to take before I can fly alone?
To fly alone, you need to have, basically this is when you're doing your training. So to fly alone, we call it solo, which means you need to have at least 16 hours of flying under an instructor.
16 hours,
yeah,
okay.
In the beginning. And then you have to go for what we call a solo check. So your instructor will sit next to you and you will fly the aircraft as though he's not there. So he's only there to take over if you mess up. And once you've cleared your solo check, you go for your first solo, and it's quite a important thing for most of us when you go for our first solo. It's very exciting, it's very scary. And you know that if anything happens, it's just you. There's no one else to rely on.
All right. So yeah, we have a question from SMK Asunta. Is it possible to switch airlines as a pilot?
Yes, of course. You can switch airlines from Basically, any airline. An airline is your office in that sense. It's like if you decide that you don't feel like working there anymore, then you can look for other airlines. A lot of people will go to the Emirates, to Arab airlines, because they're paying a lot of money. The money for the Arab airlines is best in the world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so a lot of people go there. And it depends on your priorities. Like for me, I want to stay in Malaysia because my family is here, so I decide not to go to other airlines. But of course, in the future, you never know.
So when you change airlines, let's say, so do you have to go through the whole medical checkup, simulated checks?
To get hired?
Yeah, to get hired in the new airline.
Well, to get hired in any airline, you need to go for the entrance. You have to fulfill the entrance requirements.
I see.
So it depends on whether that airline wants you to do an exam. Like for us, AirAsia, the fresh graduates who come in, you have to go for an exam. Passing, not to say passing the exam, but let's say we want to take 50 candidates. We take the top 50 scores. We take the top 50 scores, then we go for interview. And passing the interview, you have to go for simulated check, where you go into the simulator and they will check your flying ability.
All right.
Normally for seasoned pilots, there is an interview and a simulator check. There's no exam.
Oh, okay, all right. So, do you get like certs and stuff that you can bring as a resume as well? So once you pass your certain exams for a pilot.
Well, once you pass, say, the value of a pilot is the aircraft that you're able to fly. And every aircraft that you go and fly, you've got to do retraining. So if right now I'm flying the Airbus 320,
all right,
and that is a single aisle passenger jet. Let's say if I want to fly a Airbus 380, even though it's still an Airbus aircraft, I have to go for training, which will last from, depending, 2 months up to 4 months to get used to this new aircraft, and also I need to get certified on this new aircraft.
Wow, okay. So, but once you're certified for one aircraft, will it last a lifetime?
Well, you have to maintain your currency as well.
I see. All right.
So if I've gone to the 380 and I want to come back to the 320, I have to do a recurrent for that aircraft.
I see, all right. So, curious question, I think everyone wants to know this. Is it really good money becoming a pilot?
The money is pretty good. It's really good in the sense that your starting pay, you're looking at pulling in about 7,000 sampai 10,000 for the first few years. Lepas maybe 2 to 4 years, your rank increases a little bit, so you get between 9,000 to 12,000. And after 7 to 10 years, when you hit captaincy, you're talking about anywhere between 20 to 35,000 a month. You're not talking about instructors, you're not talking about management pilots yet. Management pilots can earn even more.
Wow.
I think there's an airline hiring now for the director of operations, and they're offering about 45, 50.
That's a lot of money.
I don't know what to do with that kind of money.
That's a lot of money. So we have a question from Aini, CBN school. So
CBN
being a pilot,
will be Convent Bukit Nanas, right?
yeah, I think
My
so.
mom
Yes.
used to go there.
So being a pilot is hard enough since you encounter all sorts of challenges. So what inspires you to keep going?
Well, what inspires me is basically my passion for the job. I love flying, and all of us who do this job love flying. And you got to find things to keep you going, keep you motivated. If you've got, let's say, with all the recent incidences, the mood has been a bit down.
Yeah.
But we try very hard just to keep up the good spirits in that sense.
All right. Yeah, so I think someone hashtagged this, Frog Pilot. Can a lady become a pilot?
Yes.
So I'm sure they can. So
yes,
can you tell us
course.
about ratios of lady pilots now?
Well, in my airline, AirAsia, we have a lot of female pilots.
Wow, cool.
And we've got female captains. I've recently flown with a female captain just about 5 days back. And she's awesome, she's great. And so there is no limitation on whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. The airline is becoming a very equal ground in that sense.
All right, that's nice to know.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as like gender bias.
No, there's no gender bias.
Very good. Yeah. So another question also from CBN, from Justjit 5B. Being a pilot requires a lot of time away from home. Does your career hinder you from bringing up a family? So how do you balance work and life?
Well, yeah, there is. It requires you to be away from home quite a lot. But for me, I'm very lucky in that sense where I get to come home every day. I may work very long hours, but I get to come home. That is one of the best parts of this position right now with this company. And as for hindering you from raising a family, yes, in a way, especially, well, we were just talking about no gender biases, but at the same time, when a female captain or female pilot becomes pregnant, after a certain term, maybe I think 2 months or so, once she starts, when the doctor says, okay, you can't fly anymore, then you've got to take some time off from work.
Yes, correct.
And so yes, that's one of the things. But if you were to already have children, then as long as you have a supportive partner, your spouse is supportive and understanding, then I don't see why it's a problem.
All right. So I guess it takes up your own initiative as well to balance your life.
Yes.
So we have a question. Yuran untuk menjadi seorang juruterbang amat mahal. Berapakah bayaran yang dikenakan?
Okay.
Dan adakah ada syarikat atau universiti yang menaja?
Okay. Tadi kita dah cakap pasal syarikat yang menaja, macam AirAsia kita ada menaja untuk cadet program. And that is one way in. So kalau jadi cadet pilot tu, there is no direct cost to start with.
Okay.
So tak ada yuran untuk mula lah. Tapi bila dah start kerja, company tu akan ambil balik sikit every year. So you are bonded to the company. So your contract, you kena kerja dengan company tu untuk tempoh maybe 10 tahun ke 15 tahun depending on the contract. And every month you pay back 1,000 or 500 to start with sampai habis lah.
Sampai habis.
Yeah, so that's one option. And second option, you do it privately. It's mahal lah. Dia cost dia lebih kurang between 250 to 270,000 ringgit.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. So the one that you mentioned in Langkawi, Kota Baru, and Melaka, is that sponsored?
No, these are private schools.
Oh, these are not private schools.
These are all private schools, but the airline actually sends pilots to the schools. So in Langkawi, I've had batchmates who were MAS cadets. And AirAsia, at one point, they were sending them to Canada to do their training, but I'm not sure where the new guys are being sent to at the moment.
I see. All right. So so like I mentioned, we are going to start the Q&A very soon. So if you have a question for our guest today, please identify your school in the group chat. Kepada sekolah yang berada dalam video call ni, sila perkenalkan sekolah anda sekiranya anda ada soalannya. So one last question, I guess, from our Q&A live viewers. Can someone who is good flying flight simulator plane fly an actual plane?
Yeah, well, that's a very good question, because when I was doing my training, or even slightly before I started my training, I was on flight simulator a lot. I used to play flight simulator, and it's good. It's very good for you. The skills might not transfer 100%, but you've got an advantage. You know certain terms, you know certain ways to fly the aircraft. We actually still use flight simulator programs occasionally to brush up on what we call our instrument flying skills.
All right.
So even though the screen or whatever, it might not look real, but the instruments are real enough that you could just disregard what's on the screen and fly the instruments, and which is actually very typical of our everyday life, because our flights are what we call instrument flight rules, where we do not really have to have visual of the outside.
All right.
Because our instruments and our ratings as crew include the instrument rating. So walaupun tak boleh nampak apa-apa, kita boleh terbang juga.
I see. But that doesn't mean that if you play a lot of flying games, you can fly a plane.
Well, it helps.
It helps. All right. Okay. Yeah. So, how do you cope with misshapes that occur when you're flying a plane? So just now you said that the challenges is all the malfunctions and stuff. So.
Okay. Well, the best kind of malfunctions that happen to us, when I say best because the most comfortable ones for passengers are the ones that they don't know about. So if we can handle all those problems quietly, because there are some minor mishaps, or I wouldn't call them mishaps, minor malfunctions that the aircraft can still fly, because we've got what we call redundancies, 2 to 3 systems for every one operation.
Oh, just
so
like
even
backups?
if a lot of backups.
Oh, okay.
So even if one channel fails, we have 2 more to back it up.
I see.
And they kick in automatically. When you talk about mishaps, for example, we've had an incident with Qantas Flight 32 out of Singapore, the Airbus 380 whose engine blew up.
Oh, okay.
I think it was a few years back. And the crew did it really well. They managed to land the plane, because the plane can still fly most of the time, unless it's a catastrophic failure where you lose all your engines. The plane is still flyable. And in aviation, we have rules. We call this the aviation golden rules. First, you aviate, you fly the aircraft. Then you navigate, so you know where you're going.
Okay.
Then you communicate and tell people what's going on.
I see.
So as long as you follow these basic rules, plus our training is very extensive. Like I was saying earlier, we've got every 6 months the simulator, the torture areas. What happens is that they will throw all these mishaps and incidents at us in the safety of a simulator, and we as crew have to deal with it.
I see. So you get trained a lot as well, lah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's very good. So there's a question, also hashtag FrogPilot, a very good question, I guess. If I want to be an engineer, but also like to go into this like aviation industry, so any engineer career that can relate to?
Okay, well that's really good actually, because I have a lot of friends and colleagues who are engineers. We've got engineers who are pilots. You can do your engineering degree, and then you decide you feel like you want to go and fly. So you go and then you do your license, you get your license, and you fly. The engineering degree actually helps, because like I said, a lot of the subjects are very technical. So if you've got an engineering background, it actually makes life much easier for you.
Oh, I see. All right.
I've also got colleagues who are doctors, who are architects.
Wow.
My chief pilot of the airline, chief pilot, meaning my boss, is used to load cargo. He used to be a ramp handler.
I see. Okay.
And now he's the chief pilot.
Oh, okay.
So there is no career that will take you away from this, as long as you have the drive, the passion, and you manage to get into a cadet program or flying school. Then yeah, sky's your limit.
I see. So it doesn't mean that I have to start in straight away as a pilot cadet or whatnot.
No.
So I can take a degree in a course that I like first.
Yes.
So there's a degree in science, degree in music perhaps.
Yes.
But I can still go and be a pilot
Yes,
later,
you can.
right? Okay, that's very good. So I think now we are going to open up to our live Q&A. So we have SK Santubong. SK Santubong, do you have a question for our guest?
My name is Ashraf.
Sure.
My name is Ashraf from SK Santubong. My question is, why do you need a co-pilot?
Why do you need a co-pilot?
Okay. Well, when we conduct the operations in complicated aircraft, for example, all our twin-engine jet aircraft are what we call multi-crew aircraft, where the minimum requirement is 2 crew members, and basically we take turns flying the aircraft, in the sense that we've got one guy who is the pilot flying for that flight. Let's say I fly from KL to Penang and then back to KL. So the flight KL to Penang will be, let's say for example, my sector, and so I will do the pilot flying duties, and my captain will be doing the pilot non-flying duties.
Okay.
And when we get to get to Penang, and he takes it back to KL, so he does pilot flying and I'll do pilot non-flying. So our duties are interchangeable, but there always have to be 2 people. So one person is flying the aircraft, and the second person is communicating with all the controllers that we have to.
All right. So there'll be a must to have 2.
You must have minimum of 2, because it is a complicated aircraft to fly.
Yeah, true. All right, tough job. So up next we have SK.
Thank you.
SK Asunta. Okay, thank you very much to SK Santubong. Very good question. SMK Asunta, I think, have a question for our guest as well. Do we have?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Okay, we got about 3 questions here, so I'll just go one by one. First of all, if we wear glasses or are somewhat colorblind, can we still be a pilot?
Okay, wearing glasses is not a problem because as long as your glasses or your correction done to your vision can bring it back to within the acceptable limits. I think it's about 1620 or 20, of course 2020 would be best. But as long as you're within the acceptable limits, then there is no issue.
Okay.
But as for being colorblind, then for that I think it's a bit tough because you will have to be able to differentiate different colors on the screens. It's especially tough for people who can't see greens.
Okay. All right. Hope that answers your question. So what's your next question?
What was it again? Okay, do you do anything when you hit the autopilot button? Do you have to do anything? Like, do you just sit back and just let the plane do anything? Or
sit back and sleep?
No. Well, okay. I get asked this question a lot. And it's funny because people think that once we take off, we hit autopilot and that's it, we kick back and relax, right? But no, that's not the case. Throughout the flight, the autopilot is a beautiful tool for us. We get to use it to make our operations much easier. But at the same time, the aircraft is a complicated beast. So we have to monitor, manage, as well as, because the computer, the autopilot, can't make decisions. It just does what we tell it to do.
Okay.
So once we hit the autopilot, our next job is managing the systems, making sure we don't fly into weather. If there is weather ahead, we have to decide whether we want to divert, whether we want to go to the left, to the right, or if it's, we have to make all these decisions based on what information we have. And the autopilot also does not, well, we've got auto land system now, but not every airport. And it's still, I'm sure you trust the person to land the aircraft more than you trust the machine to land the aircraft.
True, very true.
But at the same time, yeah, the autopilot is a great tool, but it's not the
ultimate tool.
Press the button and kick back, relax.
Okay.
Kind of thing. Thank you for your question. That was very good. Okay,
and I think you have a last question, right?
Last question. Okay. If you're a pilot for a long time and you decide to switch, to do something else, what would be the best ideas? Like go into engineering or something else? What's the best idea?
Skills, I guess. Yeah.
If you're a pilot for a while and you decide to do something else, of course you need to get qualifications for that field as well. Your experiences as a pilot will help you in many ways, but of course it's up to the company whether they want the new company, whether they want to hire you based on your qualifications. But let's say, for example, you want to go from an airline pilot and you want to do something else. You could be a flying instructor in flying schools. You could you could change your rating and get what we call helicopter ratings and fly helicopters to oil rigs instead. Or one of the things that I keep telling people is that if I could quit my job today and get a job in, say, New Zealand or Canada as a scenic route pilot, I would do that too, because those views that you get are just beautiful.
All right, perhaps you can even host your own talk show.
You could. If you've got the transferable skills, why not?
Yeah. All right, thank you very much. Very interesting and very good questions from SMK Asunta. Up next, we have SM Science Sultan Haji Ahmad Shah. SM Science Sultan Haji Ahmad Shah, you're on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hello and good morning. We have 3 questions here. First, how are pilots evaluated for raises or promotion?
All right. Well, to answer that, I refer to what I said earlier about your hours. Our experience is counted in the number of hours we've flown. So once you've hit a certain number of hours, you get your next promotion. Of course, it's not automatic. You've got to go for the in-house interview where they test your knowledge to make sure that you are qualified to go to the next level. So being a captain doesn't mean that you've flown for 4,000 hours, but it also means that you have the skills and ability to do so.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. For the second question, what if somebody opens the cabin door during flight?
You mean the door to the outside?
Yeah.
What is the possibility?
Well,
if someone
well, our doors are designed so that they can't open mid-flight, because it's a plug type system where the differential pressure between the cabin and the outside is large enough that your door cannot open. It's physically impossible to open the door. Even if I undo the latch, it's not going to open.
So it's very hard to push.
No, it's impossible.
Oh, impossible to push. Oh, very good safety precautions.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah. So.
So our last question. What was your funniest moment in the air?
Funniest moment for me? Well, I can't relate any personal funny moments because, well, I can't think of anything that's funny for me. But when I was in flying school, there was once that one of my friends actually, because we've got checklists before we go for flights, right? So I think he forgot to do one thing, and basically he took off. And these are small propeller aircraft.
Okay.
So they only fly to about maybe 3,000 to 6,000 feet normally. So right after he took off, his door flew open.
Okay. My goodness.
So he had to do a circuit with his door flapping around.
Oh.
So for me, for us watching on the ground, it was pretty funny because you can see like, wow, his door is open.
All right. So yeah. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Up next we have SMK July. SMK July.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I am from SMK July Felda. My question is, what is the fastest speed an aeroplane can go, and how many years of experience have you got?
Okay, well, personally for me, I've been flying with AirAsia for coming up to 4 years. So minus out the training period, then I've been flying for about 2.5 to 3 years. And as for the airspeed of the aircraft, it really depends on the aircraft itself. So I'll tell you about the Airbus 320, the aircraft that I fly. We normally go up to about 280 to 300 knots. That's the indicated airspeed, which translates roughly to approximately 500 kilometers per hour.
Wow.
Of course, larger aircraft fly faster, but we're always limited by the what we call the Mach number, percentage of the speed of sound that we can fly at. So most of our aircraft, we fly at maximum of 0.79 of the local speed of sound.
So you have speed limit even up in the
Yes,
air?
we have speed limits. We've got speed limits based on the restrictions by the areas. For example, when we're flying below 10,000, the maximum speed is 250 knots.
I see.
And that is set by the government. And we've also got the aircraft operational maximum speed. So above that speed, it could cause damage to the aircraft.
I see. All right. So even up in the air, you have traffic speed limit.
Yeah, we got
Bikin
speed
cepat
limit.
nanti kena saman. Okay. So I think we have another question from the. Yeah, we are. Alright, let's go to SK Padang Jawa first. We have SK Padang Jawa. Hi, SK Padang.
Hello, we are from SK Padang Jawa. I want to ask only one question. The question is, which one can make more money, a commercial plane pilot or military pilot?
Well,
Thank you.
thank you for that question. Well, of course, the commercial pilot is definitely going to earn more money because when you're a military pilot, you're still a government servant in that sense. So you pull pay based on the government scheme.
A military pilot.
Yes, military pilot. Whereas if you are a commercial pilot, of course, it's a market-driven industry. So how much you're being paid is how much the industry thinks that you deserve to earn. So as I said earlier, right now our pay is, for captains, can go pretty high, up to 30 to 35 sometimes, depending on how much you fly. Because we get basic and we also get allowances.
I see. Yeah. There's one question. Being an A320 pilot, can you fly a Dugong A380?
Okay, well, the Dugong plane, or rather the 380, is a larger variation of the 320. However, because you've got more engines, you've got different systems, and of course the layout of the cockpit is different. So yes, I can fly that aircraft, but I have to go for training first. I have to do a type rating, we call it, on different aircraft. Every plane that you fly, you need to get a new rating. So I go from a 320 to a 330, 340, or 380. I need to get ratings for that aircraft.
I see. Do you have to go by like?
Well, no, it depends on your company.
On what you want. Okay.
What your company has.
I see. All right. Yeah. So that was a question from Q&A. Thank you very much. So I think last one we have SK Santubong. Do we have SK Santubong? The last one.
Hello.
Hi. Yes. SK Santubong.
Hello.
Hello. My name is Aziza and I'm from SK Santubong. I have a question and it is, what is the longest lifetime for an airplane?
Longest lifetime?
Oh, so you mean how long the aircraft can last?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay, well, it depends on the maintenance of the aircraft. Most airlines, well, for example, airlines like AirAsia, we like to maintain a very young fleet. So our planes generally are not too old, maybe within 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Of course, there are planes that are flying for 30 years, 40 years. As long as the maintenance is good and it's being kept properly, then yes, it can serve for a very long time. But as the aircraft gets older, your maintenance costs also increase.
I see.
So that's why a lot of airlines, they would rather sell out those older aircraft to smaller airlines who can't afford new ones and buy new planes instead.
I see. So to keep it safe as well.
Keep it safe, yeah, of course.
All right. So I hope that answers your question, SK Santubong.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. We are coming to the end of our session already. Thank you for all the good questions that we got. So just some last advice from a pilot. Can you tell people who are dreaming about becoming pilots, like what are your advice for them?
Well, okay, I would say that whatever you want to do, you have to have the passion for it. And the kind of values that we require as a pilot, and what we like to say is that you have to be willing to learn from day one until the day that you retire from the airline. I've got guys who come up to me who are extremely low hours, like 500-hour pilots. We like to say this, where when you're 500 hours, you think you own the world. You think you know everything. And when you hit 1,000 hours, you start realizing that there are some things you still don't know. When you hit 5,000, that's when you realize, or rather you know, that you don't know.
So the further you go in, like the more you don't know.
And when you hit 20,000 hours, you will realize that you will never learn everything. So what you have to do is you have to prioritize what you learn based on the limited time and of course our own capacity to learn. You have to prioritize what is a must know, what is a nice to know, and things that are very nice to know. So things that you must know, you have to know. And the others are optional add-ons, bonuses that you get, like little tricks with the aircraft, things like that.
I see. All right. So
the other thing I would like to say is that when I was in school, I hated mathematics. I really did. But I wish that when I was in school, I paid more attention and I liked it a little more because I use it every day now. And we always think that it doesn't apply to us in future, but for those of you who want to become pilots, then yes, it is a very important part for what we do. We do a lot of quick mental calculations, a lot of calculations with our calculators, just to make sure that everything is safe. So yeah, that is very important.
All right. Thank you very much, Eugene. Very good advice, very wise one.
Thank you.
Continuous learning, like a lot of our guests have been mentioning about, like continuing your learning throughout the whole career that you're doing and everything. Yeah, so I guess, and also mathematics, kids, very important subject. Okay, so that's the end of our session for today. Thank you very much for joining us, to our live viewers who have been giving us a lot of good Q&A questions. Thank you very much as well. You can join us again next week for a session with Canadian nutritionists for our healthy eating and living session next week, 20th August. You can still sign up through FrogAsia.com/FrogCC. FrogAsia.com/FrogCC. So to those who have been joining us in the session, please, we would love it very much if you can give us your feedback and your comment. And if you would love to have more sessions like this, please let us know through the link bit.ly/FCC Reflection. So kepada sekolah yang join kita untuk sesi hari ini, terima kasih banyak-banyak. Kita ada satu lagi sesi minggu depan tentang pemakanan sihat pada 20 Ogos bersama seorang pakar nutrisi daripada Kanada. Anda masih boleh register melalui FrogAsia.com/FrogCC dan sila bagikan maklum balas komen anda sekiranya anda nak lagi sesi macam ni. So sila beritahu kita melalui link bit.ly/FCC Reflection. So sila berikan maklum balas anda ya, from bit.ly under bit.ly/FCC Reflection. Bye.
All right, bye, and thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Take care.